Welcome, everyone, to our week 3 review of May Cause Miracles by Gabrielle Bernstein. I'm joined here today with Erick Silvermoon Garcia. Yay! And we are going to be reviewing the week 3, which was about food and our relationship with food and our body. So, as always, we are going to start with Erick and his experience from this week.
Yay! Well, I know right before the call started, we were talking about how not too much happened for us this week, but the little things that I found were huge. I guess that was the important stuff that we were talking about. We're waiting for something like a big old bang thing that's going to happen and be like, yes, this was it. But when I started to look back on my notes, there were little things that set up that are actually really big things. So, I mean, most people that know me, you know me, I've had a lot of concerns and issues in my past when I used to weigh 280 pounds, and I made it a goal to lose all of it, and I went down to 140. And through that, I mean, I gained weight back and forth, but it's still an issue for me. So I thought this was going to be about facing a lot of my body fears, and I've noticed that I don't have as many as I thought I did. Mm-hmm. So I kind of went through that process where, am I creating fears just so I have stuff to present? Like, that was my biggest thing. So I was like, do I need to create something and be like, yes, I feel like I'm fat, and then I'll sit and I'll write, and nothing will come out. And I'm like, well, I don't see myself that fat. I wouldn't say that I'm like fat. And so then I started writing, well, how do I see myself? I was like, I feel like I can make healthier choices. And that was it. And I think that was the biggest thing for me this week, was just that I could make healthier choices. So I kind of took a moment before I went to sleep, and I asked my spiritual team, I was like, I think I am ready for a lifestyle change in a healthier manner. And so I was like, let's create a spiritual menu for myself and for my family so that I could kind of feel better. Because I have been starting to question what I eat and what goes into my body. I'm a little bit more aware of it. I'm not saying that I'm going to stop eating, junk food, but I think for me, what's going to help me start is going to be the portion control. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be just the small portions, and asking myself, like, how do we feel after this? And I'll probably say I feel good. I was like, do you feel like having another portion or another serving? And the most I was seeing this week was like, no, I'm actually good. And I felt good. And I didn't have to eliminate a lot of food from my diet. I don't eat like a lot of burgers and stuff. I mean, Erick, my fiance Erick, and I were very health conscious, so we do eat very healthy foods, but it's the portion sizes that we have issues. Mm-hmm. And so that was one of those things that it's kind of like, well, we don't need all that extra stuff. But one of the main things I did write on the day 15, which is the first day we started doing this, I did write a lot, but it was more of that second-guessing myself, like I said, that I was creating fears just so I could write them down. Mm-hmm. But once I started writing them, I kept crossing stuff off, and I was like, I don't really feel that way. But as the week progressed, the affirmations, again, were huge. I'm not my body, I am free. That was a good one. I kept saying that whenever Gabrielle has this, like, one of those things where it's that rubber band snap. When you say something, you attack yourself, you snap that rubber band. That's how I felt this affirmation was. It was just kind of like the moment I was like, oh, I feel kind of bloated. I was like, no. I had to quit myself, and then I asked this, why do I feel bloated? And so it became one of those things where you get exhausted of talking through it. So I was like, okay, so I'm going to eat a small portion because I don't want to have that coaching call with myself, because it was a lot of work. So it kind of just creates something better. But on day 19, that was the big one. I think as we were supposed to write a dear letter to our spiritual team and our inner guide. And that's where I was honest with myself, and I expressed, I'm ready, I'm open, I'm willing to change for the better. And I read it back, and it's almost like I gave myself a big hug, and this time feels different. If I change my eating style, it's not, I even put no abs required, because it's not, I understand our bodies can reach a certain physique and be ripped, but that's not for me. I've chased that already and it didn't work out. And I think now I'm okay with not having abs as long as I feel good. And so that was my biggest aha moment for this week.
Nice. Yay! Well, yeah, as you and I were talking right before we got on, this wasn't what I expected. It really wasn't. So for those of you who have been following me for a little bit, you know that several years ago I lost 20 pounds and I've kept it off. And when I actually gained that weight for two reasons. One was I became vegan, and I went about it such a wrong way. I switched from eating meat. I mean, like literally cold turkey. I stopped eating meat, but I switched to those fake meat products, like the fake hamburger and the fake burger. And I'm like, really? This is so, I mean, it was so unhealthy. Those things are so unhealthy. Even though they say they are, they're just, if you look at the list of preservatives, it's really, really bad. But anyway, and at about the same time, I found out that my back was broken. I knew that I had had a back injury from my time when I was in the service, but didn't realize it was actually broken. So when I found that out, I felt so betrayed by my body, and I was like, are you kidding me? You're broken? What? And especially your spine, because that supports you, you know. And so I really felt betrayed, and so I started eating, and I felt that I needed that protection, because I felt like, well, if I'm not safe in my body, where the hell can I be safe, you know? And so I gained 20 pounds and then had that on me for a while, and then as I lost it, I noticed that with every pound that I shed, the same energetic step that I was going through when I gained the weight was being presented to me as I was losing the weight. So it was really interesting for me to feel that shift and those knowings and those aha moments and everything. And I got down, I was at like 132 at my highest, and then I got down to 126, and I plateaued there for a long time. And one of the things that I did was I actually wrote a letter to my body, which was, as you mentioned, Eric, on day 19, that was the exercise. And that has always been so profound for me to do, and that's something that I've recommended to my clients and students for anything that you're having a challenging time dealing with or getting rid of or even facing. Writing a letter is something that's huge, whether it's to someone else, to yourself, about something, to your body, to a body part, whatever. It really helps you to just kind of get everything out and process it in a way that is manageable. And I actually have a whole class about this called Journey Through Journaling. So if you're interested, I highly recommend that class, because it talks about just working through energetically stuff. And that's what this week was all about. You know, day 16, she talks about the intentions of the mind, and I liken that just to taking personal responsibility. You know, when we set our mind up for something, that's what transpires. And I actually probably should have written down the entire sentence. So she said, the body appears to be largely self-motivated and independent, yet it actually responds only to the intentions of the mind. If the mind accepts the Holy Spirit's or Ing's purpose for it instead, its kindly light shows all things from one another's point of view. So the intention of the mind is huge. And so if you have an intention of going into something with it being productive, then usually it's productive. If you go into something with the intention that it's going to suck, usually it sucks. But sometimes when we have to get out of that mode of thinking or that way of thinking, writing a letter and processing it and just saying, okay, so this is how I feel, this is why I feel this way, this is the reason, kind of more in depth, why I feel this way, and this is what I would rather have happen instead. That's kind of setting yourself up for success, because you're presenting the issue and why you feel that way, and then how you really want to feel and how you truly want to feel about it. Mm-hmm. And several of us years ago were talking about how it's hard to be positive sometimes. It's a lot easier to be negative in this world than it is to be positive. It takes a little bit of work, and to shift your mindset and really focus on what you really truly want, and come hell or high water making it happen. Sometimes it's not very easy. And on day 18, she talks about focusing on what you do like about your body. Well, she actually says love, but again, like I said, a lot of people have an aversion to the word love. And so if you find yourself not jiving with the word love, like, well, I can't love my body because look at how it is. I don't love this, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, I deeply respect my body. I'm grateful for my body. I really like my body, But focusing on those things that you're grateful for is so huge. And I love that she has gratitude in every single week. I'm like, yes. Because that's one of the practices that I use to really help shift my energy. When I feel myself in a funk, I really bring in that gratitude and appreciation. I'm so grateful and thankful for whatever, and I fill in the blank. And so just to have her walk us through these things where we take personal responsibility and get clear with our intentions and focus on those things that we do resonate with our body, and then allow ourselves to process it through writing letters and whatnot. I mean, anyone that's worked with me knows that that's a process that I totally do and I absolutely resonate with. But, like I said, this really wasn't what I expected. I really thought this week was going to be, I guess, a little bit more profound. But it really just reinforced those things that I've been putting into practice for so long anyway. As Eric was talking about, portion control is a big one. And for years, I've used salad-sized plates instead of dinner plates, because a dinner plate's huge. It's just freaking huge. And our minds really associate with this spatial whole thing. So if you have a giant dinner plate and you only fill it up with an actual portion size of things, you look like, and it appears that you're lacking, and oh my gosh, I've got all this room, I might as well fill it up, And there was actually this study, and it was with homemade macaroni and cheese, and people were given one portion size, but in a different size bowl, and then like everybody ate all of it, and then they did this other, it was the same study, but with a different kind of set of parameters. So they had different size bowls, but they filled the bowls completely full. Those people still ate the entire bowl, regardless of what portion size it was, and I'm going, oh my goodness. And then it's just really interesting on playing with that portion control versus what size of bowl or glass you have. One of the things that I found was interesting was whenever I was in South Africa, I lived there for a while, like years and years ago, everything was smaller. At the grocery store, like the yogurts were just tiny and the milks were tiny. I'm like, everything is so tiny here. Because we're so used to here in the United States having everything in bulk and gallon-sized jugs and these massive 24-packs and whatever, and buying things in a 4-pack or just a single, and I'm just like, everything's so tiny. It was just so weird. But I noticed that any time that we went someplace, we got smaller portions, but it was more satisfying. And mealtime wasn't really about the food. Well, it was about the food, but it was more about the connection that you made with the people. And that was one of the things that I really loved about day 18, was that, during our lunchtime affirmation, she wanted us to sit and be totally alone if we could, and take one bite and chew it 30 times. I'm like, geez, it's going to turn to mush. But being fully present with that bite and being fully present with what you're doing. And I had a friend who was talking about, she was overseas, and she was invited to a dinner party, and she was supposed to bring the pudding, or the dessert, but they call it pudding. And she didn't realize it was for everybody. She thought it was for just her and her partner. So she brought this tiny little, cake. And it was for 10 people, and she's just like, oh, we only brought a tiny cake, and they're like, no, this is perfect. And so they cut this tiny little cake into 10 tiny little pieces, but she said it was perfect. It was absolutely the perfect amount. But she said she was mortified because she's like, if she knew she was going to bring it for 10 people, she would have brought this giant thing, and they probably would have looked at her like she was nuts. But she's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize I had to bring it for everybody. And, if you think about, it's not always the more the better. It really is about quality versus quantity. And Eric and I were talking about this, about Facebook posts and sharing our spiritual path with people. And it's not that we just dump everything on you guys. It's that what has really made an impact for us is one of the things that we're going to share with you all. And it's not about that whole quantity. It's about the quality of it. And that was really the essence of this week, is being fully present in the moment with yourself, and your body and how it feels and what you really truly want to feel in your body in relation to food and everything else. And it really is about taking the time, and less really truly is more, or keeping everything simple. And when we overthink things and when we overanalyze everything, that's when things just start to kind of blow out of proportion, and we start to overthink, oh my gosh, I'm so fat, and when we allow ourselves to really be in gratitude and that state of appreciation for our body and everything that it has to convey to us, and how it supports us in our everyday life, that's when we can really just see, wow, this body has brought me through a journey of 1,000 miles and more, and 2 kids for me, and wow, I mean, if you think about all the steps that your feet have taken you and brought you, and all the hugs that your arms have provided for you, and all the kisses that your lips have provided, and I mean, how could you not be grateful for that, and so, yay! I hope that this week has provided a ton of appreciation and aha moments for all of you. So if you're watching and you have a comment, go ahead and type in your comment or your question, either for Eric or myself. And I know we have several viewers watching at this time. Or if you're watching the rebroadcast, go ahead and type in your questions or comments, and then Eric or I will pop over and answer the comment or the question. So I'm still getting used to this whole comment thing. So did you have anything to add, Eric?
Well, one of the things that I like that you said was that, because I know we were talking about how we expected a lot from this week, just because it was just kind of like presented to us was like, oh, it's going to be a big week. I can't wait. But I think what was funny is that it was just a validation of how far we've come along in our progress. And so that was the aha moment, is that we've been experiencing that huge thing already, but it was that moment of realizing it, that we've already have been living in that experience. And so it was all about gratitude. I'm grateful for the body, like you said. We take it for granted. I did try the eating for very slowly, and I used to do that with my apples because I love green apples. And I used to sit and I'll take a bite, and I'll just kind of wonder where this apple has been and how many hands it has had, and the energy and time it went to gain it to where it was. And it was one of those appreciations, like I'm very grateful how far this one apple has come into my home and the journey that it has, and I honor it, and I'm very grateful for it. And it's a whole different experience, and it's one of those things where you're just grateful for that one moment. I think on day 18, it was important. It was important to kind of just sit and realize that what I'm putting in my body is serving me, and I'm very grateful for it. And so that's where the whole thing makes you think about, what am I putting in my body? It's like it's so quick for us to just, I'm hungry, or we use the word I'm starving, go and grab something, just eat it, because that's how dramatic sometimes we get. But we don't think about what that quick hamburger and fries or something that we grab real quick is doing for us, just to create that one moment. And so that, I think it was one of those things where I think this week just brought a little bit more awareness and appreciation of all the progress that I've done already. And so, I mean, to other people, it might actually be this huge moment for them. But I think for both of us, we've experienced it. So it was a gratitude, and it was validating of that we're on a good path.
Yes, I agree. Well, and if someone wants to take this a step further, Gabrielle actually has a course. It's an online course called Finally Full. I believe that's what it's called. And because she actually has had eating, I don't want to say a disorder, but she's had eating issues for a long time. And she doesn't now. But it's a spiritual process of working through your food issues. And because she was coming from a lack, or a feeling of lack. and like there was never going to be enough, and so she would binge eat all the time. And so if you're interested in that, you can go to gabbyb.tv and you can look for her programs or courses, and she has the online course, I believe is called Finally Full. So if someone wants to take it kind of a step further and really dig deep. I haven't been through the program, but the reviews are just absolutely fabulous, and from what I've read about it, it looks like it's a very good course, and I love Gabby's stuff anyway, so. But, well, okay, so next week our focus is on relationships. And I'll go through real quick the daily breakdown. So, day 22, we're going to pay attention to what we think about others. Day 23 is geared towards surrendering your ego to your spirit for healing. Day 24 this is based on the lesson from the course called Kindness Created Me Kind. That'll be an interesting one. Day 25 is going to help us understand the principle that what we project onto others, we reflect back onto ourselves. That's going to be a good one. 26 is going to help us understand how ego uses forgiveness to get what it wants, whereas your ing uses forgiveness to return to love. And day 27, we're going to be guided to pay attention to the holy instant. Ooh, I love that. So the holy instant is that moment where it's like the heavens open up and the light shines down on you and the angels start singing. It's like that huge quantum shift moment, which is awesome. And then day 28 is when we recap and we reflect on the week and then prepare for the next day. So Eric and I will be with you every single Monday until this book is done, and then probably the week after that to sum up our entire experience. So next week's call will be on the 9th, which is June 9th, which is a Monday at 10 a.m. Central Time. And thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to hearing everyone's comments about your journey in doing the 40-day challenge in the May Cause Miracles book with us, Erick Silvermoon and myself. So until next week, I'm wishing you a fearless and fabulous week. Bye.
Bye.